They told you to stop eating rice. They told you bread is your enemy. They told you potatoes? Forget it. Never again. And when you tried and eventually gave in, you felt like a failure. I need you to hear me right now. You are not the problem. The advice was, the same carbohydrates that spike your blood sugar when eaten one way can behave completely differently in your body when handled correctly. Same food, same portion, completely different result. This isn't a theory. This is documented, peer-reviewed science. Once you understand the mechanism, you stop being afraid of food. You start being strategic. Overly restrictive diets have some of the lowest success rates in nutrition because restriction without understanding is just suffering with an expiration date. Carbohydrates are not the enemy. Unmanaged carbohydrates are. The problem is simply how they are cooked, what they are eaten with, and the order they are consumed. Let me show you exactly how to change this. First, let's talk about resistant starch. Normally, when you eat freshly cooked rice or warm bread, the starch is soft and loose. Your digestive enzymes break it down quickly, flooding your bloodstream with glucose. But when you cook that same rice and cool it in the refrigerator overnight, something remarkable happens. The starch molecules restructure. They tighten up and transform, behaving more like fiber than rapid sugar. And yes, a major portion of this resistant starch survives when you reheat it the next day. Studies show that eating cooled and reheated rice or potatoes leads to significantly lower blood sugar spikes. One night in the fridge, completely different body response. This also works for potatoes and even bread that has been frozen and then toasted. You can also add foods naturally high in resistant starch to your plate. Legumes like beans, lentils, and chickpeas, which slow down the absorption of the whole meal. Steel-cut oats, not highly processed instant oats. Slightly underripe, green-tipped bananas. The second strategy is the pairing principle. Carbohydrates eaten alone produce the sharpest blood sugar spikes, but when paired with protein, fat, fiber, or acid, the story changes. A massive analysis of 154 clinical trials found that simply adding protein to a carb meal reduced the total blood sugar load by up to 50%. How? Protein stimulates a hormone called GLP-1, which slows down stomach emptying. This makes glucose enter your blood gradually instead of all at once. Adding acid, like a squeeze of lemon or vinegar, does something similar by slowing down the enzymes that break down starch. Fermented foods like kimchi and Greek yogurt work the exact same way. We have covered resistant starch and food pairing, but we aren't done yet. Next, I am going to show you how the order of the food on your plate can cut blood sugar spikes by another 40% without changing a single ingredient. If you're just joining us, go watch part 1 first. The foundation we built there makes everything in this part land so much harder. But if you have been here from the beginning, you already know about resistant starch, and you understand why pairing protein and fat with your carbohydrates changes the entire glucose story. Now we go deeper. These next strategies are backed by clinical trials and continuous glucose monitor studies, and best of all, not one of them requires you to give up a single food you love. Let's get into it. I want you to think about the last meal you sat down to eat. What did you eat first? If you are like most people, you probably reached for the bread, or started with a few bites of rice, because that is just what feels natural. But here is what happens when you do that. When a carbohydrate hits your digestive system first, with nothing else to slow it down, the starch breaks down immediately. Glucose floods into your bloodstream in a rapid, sharp rush. But now imagine a different scenario. You start that same meal with your vegetables. Then you eat your protein. And you save the carbohydrates, the rice, bread, or potatoes, for last. By the time those carbs arrive, the environment inside your stomach has completely changed. The fiber from the vegetables has formed a gel-like mesh in your digestive tract, slowing down glucose absorption. The protein has triggered hormones that slow down how quickly your stomach empties. Your system is no longer in a state of rapid processing. It is in a slow, controlled mode. The glucose enters your bloodstream gradually. The spike that would have happened simply doesn't. A randomized controlled trial tested exactly this. People ate the exact same meal in different orders. When they ate vegetables and protein first and carbohydrates last, their post-meal blood sugar response was 40% lower, and their insulin response was 31% lower. 40%. Same meal, same portion, just a different order. So the habit is simple. Vegetables first, protein second, carbohydrates last. If you are at a restaurant and they bring the bread basket, let it sit. Eat your salad first, save the bread for the end of the meal. This single habit can flatten your blood sugar response for the rest of your life. Next, let's talk about a strategy that sounds almost too simple to work. 10 minutes of walking after a meal. Not a run, not an intense gym session, just a simple 10-minute walk. When you walk, you activate a specific calf muscle called the soleus. This muscle is designed for sustained, low-intensity activity, and when it contracts, it pulls glucose directly out of your bloodstream to use as fuel. Here is the magic. It does this through a pathway that does not require insulin. It completely bypasses the insulin resistance that is causing the problem in the first place. Your muscles grab the glucose directly without waiting for insulin to unlock the door. Timing is key here. Try to walk within 15 to 30 minutes of finishing your meal, catching the glucose rise before it peaks. If you can't go outside, just walk around your home, clean the kitchen, or climb a flight of stairs. Any movement in that post-meal window activates this mechanism. 10 minutes. That is the ask. Your biology does the rest. Now, let's address carbohydrate structure. This isn't about eating low carb. It is about how the carbohydrate is physically built. Think of finely milled white flour as sawdust. Throw it on a fire, and it explodes into an instant, overwhelming blaze. That is white bread, pasta, and instant oats in your body. They digest too fast. Now think of intact whole grains and legumes as logs. They burn slowly, steadily, and sustain you for hours. Choose steel-cut oats, barley, and beans. Their starch is locked inside tough cell walls. Your digestive system has to work to break them down, releasing glucose gradually, and never cut out fiber. Soluble fiber forms a gel in your gut that physically blocks rapid sugar absorption. It is the most metabolically valuable part of your meal. Finally, let's talk about timing. Your body's ability to handle glucose is not the same at 8 a.m. as it is at 8 p.m. Your insulin sensitivity is at its highest in the morning. Your body is at its metabolic peak. As the day progresses, insulin sensitivity declines. But there is a second factor, melatonin. As bedtime approaches, your brain releases melatonin to prepare you for sleep. Melatonin receptors on your pancreas actually suppress insulin secretion. So, late at night, your body has low insulin sensitivity and less insulin production. If you eat a heavy carbohydrate meal late at night, that glucose has nowhere to go. It stays elevated in your bloodstream for hours while you sleep. The fix is simple. Try to finish your last meal at least 3 hours before bedtime. If late dinners are unavoidable, make that meal light on carbs and heavy on protein and vegetables. Save your higher carbohydrate foods for earlier in the day. Let's bring all 7 strategies together. Cook, cool, and reheat your starches to create resistant starch. Pair your carbs with protein, healthy fats, and fiber. Add something acidic, like lemon or vinegar, to slow digestion. Eat vegetables first, protein second, and carbohydrates last. Take a 10-minute walk after eating to clear glucose without insulin. Choose intact, structural carbs over finely processed flours. Finish your last meal 3 hours before sleep. None of this is about restriction. It is about working with your biology, not against it. Your body has not failed you. It was just waiting for the right information. Now you have it. If this video gave you something valuable, please share it with a woman in your life who needs to hear this. She deserves to know how to eat what she loves, intelligently. Subscribe to Vita Vital for more science-backed health insights. See you in the next one.